Heary. Welcome to the Depth Perception Pod. I'm Dr. Nadia.
We have a special guest here today,
Dr.
guys.
Sony.
I'm Svetlana, and we have a special guest.
Well, we have Dr. Fayiz Mahgoub. He's an optometrist with a passion for technology and eye care. He's also the founder of Augmented Vision Labs, which is a technology company that is dedicated to utilizing emerging technology to solve persistent problems in eye care. I'm very impressed.
Oh yeah,
we have to do a
Thanks
whole
for having
pod
me,
about
guys.
I have to do a whole pod about your founder business too. Next time we'll have to do that.
We have to.
I'm down.
I can take it from here and also let you guys know that he also enjoys giving back to the optometric community and currently serves as the academic and diplomatic liaison for the Intrepid Eye Society. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Intrepid, you got it.
Intrepid. Some words are a little difficult. And through this role, he has also worked to empower optometry students by facilitating educational and mentorship opportunities for students to support their future success. In 2015, Fayiz has also founded Young Leaders in Optometry, which is kind of where we all met too. Like in person, right? I think all of us got together at that time. Were you there, Nadia?
Yeah, well, Nadia and I went to school together, so I've known her, since then. But yeah, like different conferences and YLO. Yeah.
You're right. And this organization, what the goal of this is that to identify the brightest young minds in optometry and empower them to reach their full potential.
This episode is about AI, and AI is affecting everything in today's society. It's affecting our day to day, and obviously, it's coming in optometry as well. So, we wanted to get, your take on this. And first things first, can you tell us what do you feel like are the pros and cons of AI?
Great question. It's a technology that is kind of all the buzz right now, and you're hearing AI this and AI that in all different aspects of society. So I think, healthcare is going to be one of the main areas that's impacted. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is there are a lot of unmet needs in healthcare right now. And the other piece is that, it's kind of a lucrative field if you're able to solve some of these problems, because healthcare is notoriously known as being one of the highest costs as far as services provided in our country. And even with that high cost, there are still a lot of dysfunctions. And so it's really a huge area that attracts a lot of attention from the AI community. And the pros of it is that AI can help solve some of these intractable problems in healthcare. For example, access to care. I think some people would be surprised to know that only 1 in every 3 American adults gets an eye exam every year. So there are 330 million Americans, and only about 100 million get access to eye care every year. So it just makes you think, if we want to be able to serve everyone in our country, are we going to need to triple the number of optometry schools and triple the number of optometrists? Or do we try to, solve it in a way that's smarter instead of just trying to work harder and replicate the system that's currently in place? If the system that's in place was going to solve this issue, we would have already solved it. So we need to think outside the box, use new tools. With any new technology, there's going to be kind of a haves and have-nots type situation where certain groups of people benefit more from utilizing that new technology, and other groups can be left behind. So you can think of a lot of the major, shifts in technology. You could think of electricity, mechanization, and the automobile. There were industries that were, substantiated on the previous technologies, right? There were people who, made their living around caring for horses and farming hay for horses. And when the automobile took over, and horses, they're not gone, they're still around, but people, the vast majority of people don't rely on horses for transportation anymore. They have horses for fun. And so, it's important to kind of understand where the tides of change are and to position yourself to take advantage of them. And, the people who are, going to be, I don't want to say displaced, because there's going to be always other opportunities that are created. They need to be looking to shift where they are. So, for example, in 1920, there were about 1 in every 3 Americans was a farmer. Today, only about 2% of the population are farmers, right? So because of technology and mechanization, we're able to farm so much more efficiently. But that doesn't mean that, additional 28% of people are unemployed. There were other things that came about because of the technology. You could have a lot more engineers that are servicing the tractors. That reduce the number of farmers because, there are institutions that are educating you about new things that have come about. There are other jobs besides farming. So the opportunities will change. There will be opportunities that are going to go away. There are going to be brand new opportunities that come about.
Yeah. I think those are some great thoughts. It sounds like the conversation of like technology and AI go hand in hand here. And I think we all coming into this maybe had like a gut feeling of good and bad. And it's good to kind of discuss it out loud too and kind of get your perspective. How would you say like the future of AI and like more of an eye care setting is going to go? Like, do you have any thoughts on if you had projections about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not gonna, pretend like I know what the future is gonna hold. But I'll throw some things out there that can, be potential scenarios. And one thing I will kind of preface this by is kind of an example of kind of issues or technologies that we were kind of scared about in the past. So this was something that I'd heard about from a more seasoned OD because I wasn't around when this happened. But apparently, when autorefractors were first coming to the market, there were a lot of people that were afraid that autorefraction was going to displace optometry. So, we all know today that that's not the case. In fact, I don't really know any optometry office that doesn't have an autorefractor. We've used the autorefractors to make ourselves more efficient. And, we still have, the old school way of doing things. We still have retinoscopy, and in some cases, that's going to be a useful tool for us to keep. But for the sake of efficiency, we're utilizing the technology and incorporating it. So it didn't actually pan out to be a doomsday scenario for optometry. It ends up being something that helps us be better. And that's what I hope the future of eye care is going to be. But I will say, though, that that's not a guaranteed type situation, because if you didn't have legislation in addition to the technology, things could have happened differently. In some countries around the world, you can go get an autorefraction and get a prescription and glasses without ever meeting an eye doctor. So it's not just technology, it's technology and legislation going hand in hand, and both of those need optometry to be involved on creating the technology, adopting the technology, and then also advocating on behalf of our patients to make sure that technology doesn't get misused.
Yeah, that's a good point about seeing the parallel of how things were changed, or the perception of something so simple as an autorefractor, something we don't even question today that was questioned before, and how that's really aged and changed. So I think to your point, you're saying we should be open to new ideas. One funny idea I had right now too, I just kind of used AI to help kind of encourage this conversation even more. I put in ChatGPT, how will artificial intelligence affect optometry? So I just wanted to read off some things too and kind of hear your guys' thoughts. Early diagnosis and disease detection. It can help with analyzing images, using OCT, that kind of thing. Customized treatment plans for patients, where optometrists can use these AI to kind of give people plans. Telemedicine, which is something I'd love to talk about with all of you all. Patient education, drug development, enhanced diagnostic tools. Any thoughts on some of those topics that AI helped us generate?
I mean, isn't it incredible that, you just have basically an AI thinking partner right now, for the podcast? Imagine if you had that in clinic, right? Like you see something you haven't seen before, you're not sure about. You can have, an AI, assistant that can help you come up with differential diagnoses, that can help you come up with treatment plans. Think of it like having a preceptor with you, that's not going to judge you or give you a bad grade if you don't know anything, right? It's just something that's knowledgeable and helpful all the time.
Right. It gives you the information and the background maybe that you don't have at the fingertips. But then that's where there's still that human element that we bring, right? With communication or sticking and thinking through these processes. That's where the AI can't just do it all, right?
That's a great point. And especially in the beginning, AI is going to be really geared towards doing very narrow tasks because of the capabilities are going to be limited. The type of AI that can kind of think and do everything like a human, that would be artificial general intelligence. And that's what you see in sci-fi movies. So that type of technology is, much further away. But the type of AI that can do defined tasks for you is already here today, and it's going to be growing more sophisticated going forward.
Yeah. I don't think Will Smith would be okay if we had some iRobots doing some exams here. What would you guys think?
Whoa.
Is that like from a movie?
Yeah, it is.
Haven't watched iRobot?
iRobot, there you go, yeah.
No.
You got some homework.
Nadia, this is leading into your next question. If
Write
you
that down.
I'll
iRobot.
Watch it on the flight. my next question about, yeah, let me pull up my questions, guys. I have my last question, my game ready at the end. Hold on, let me switch
All right,
screen.
Nadia, I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah, let me
Okay.
You guys make me nervous.
So how, like, we're talking about, AI being utilized in
Tag,
practice.
please. I told you to take it away.
How can it effectively be incorporated in each practice? I think we've mentioned a few things right now, but do you want to just emphasize how it can be incorporated?
Yeah, I like to think about it just from the perspective of pain points. So, like, what are pain points that you guys currently see in optometry practices, or what are pain points that you're currently experiencing as an eye doctor? If you guys want to shoot some of those out, I can see if I can brainstorm some of ideas of how AI can be helpful.
Staffing.
Absolutely. And so, what does the staff do in your office?
Check in, work up, assist with customer service related issues, getting prescriptions, things along those lines.
Absolutely. So imagine if you had an AI receptionist that is able to take the calls to schedule appointments, can forward patient records, can handle all the robocalls, answer basic questions that don't require a doctor being there, and is available 24/7 to patients. That right there is going to take some of the load off of the staff. If you're able to free 20 to 30% of a staff member's time because the AI is taking on those tasks, that staff member is able to be more productive in the office. They might be able to, help promote your social media, help do recalls to bring more patients in, things that help the practice, be more successful and thrive. And if that staff member needs to take some time off, it's not as much of a hit to the practice because some of the tasks that they would traditionally be doing, they're still going to be done by the AI. The AI is not going to get sick or need a day off. So, look at it from the perspective of augmenting the staff with AI tools. I think can help a practice be more resilient and more successful.
Yeah, what about like when to refer and when to monitor? These are like things that I always trip up on because I'm like, should I send? Should I not send? And it takes like a lot of like research and time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, it's kind of like an intuitive kind of gut feeling type thing right now. But if you had an AI tool that gave you, scientifically backed predictions of, hey, this is the expected prognosis for this patient, the likelihood of them getting worse or the likelihood of this happening or that happening is this much, and this is the confidence interval for that, then you have some data to be basing those referrals on. And then also, even just something as practical as writing a referral letter. The AI can just type it up for you. It already has access to your EMR and your clinical findings. If you need to do prior, yeah. And not even just that, like prior authorization letters to get medications approved for patients.
From a student perspective, if I had AI there to easily keep track of like all the specific diseases that I've seen, like the unique cases, and even the simple ones, but keep track of it because everyone says to learn from the patients that you've seen, but I don't know a systematic way of learning from previous cases. And in the EHR, it's also hard to go back and figure out like the patients that I saw a month ago. It's not easy to go back and like look at the patients that I had. So somehow we were able to use AI for students to be able to actually learn from their cases. Like that would be really cool. And then to have like scientific backed articles based on like that specific disease or topic. It's like, okay, it's all right here. It's so easy to go learn more about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you guys were mentioning that, I was kind of drifting off into like thinking of two potential things. Like one, when you're in clinic, right, when you're with the patient, how many people love actually spending an extra hour at the end of the day charting, right, and filling out the EMR? It's just a hassle, right? So if you had a scribe right there, that scribe can populate your EMR chart as you're going with the patient, right? Now, unfortunately, scribes are not really that common in optometry settings. They're almost universal in ophthalmology, right? And the one reason that you don't have a scribe is probably cost related, right? But if you had an AI that can do a good job of essentially being your scribe for 25 cents an hour, that's a no-brainer, right? And so then right there, instead of being turned away from the patient, pecking away at your keyboard, you can essentially engage the patient more and have all the information that you need to put in the EMR put in there just in the background. So just something as simple as that, I think, can increase the quality of the patient experience. And then on the student side, as you're studying, you can have an AI study partner that can help. You can ask questions to, just like how you ask questions to ChatGPT now. and it can be voice, so it can be like an easier interface. So, either if you're studying by yourself or if you have a study group, you and a few people, and you just put a little, Alexa in the middle of you guys and, ask questions. And if that AI was as good as the best optometry teachers, then that right there has just boosted your education by a ton, because you have 24/7 access to expert knowledge. And, the AI is not going to get bored. It's not going to get sick of you asking the same question a million times. It's always at your fingertips. So just thinking of all these things that we don't have now, but would be great to have, I think is a good place to kind of spend our time, as opposed to thinking of, the downsides.
Yeah, I actually do have a scribe, and it's like they don't, like, every doctor wants something different, so they all have to like learn how we all want our charts, and it's never like, I still have to look over them because it's never perfect. They'll forget to put something, or they won't know how to spell something. So yeah, just having that kind of like more intelligent, I guess, in a way, like artificially, it would be like nice, because then you'd be like, oh, this is the doctor. It would like already know how I'd like want my charts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are right. It is in different fields kind of like more accepted. Like I know other MDs, some of them where they'll say like the audio of their exam and then it'll type it out. Or I know another MD who uses in the Philippines to like workers there to kind of chart for him and scribe for him to save time. But you're right, that's something that we can definitely utilize. SV, were you about to ask a question? I don't want to interrupt there.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna move on to a new topic. And I wanted to know, Fayiz, do you think that AI can potentially threaten our careers? If so, why? If not, why?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's, something logical to ask about if we're talking about AI having, these huge capabilities. And, the things that we've kind of been talking about so far are kind of like ancillary of doing some clerical work and, things that are relatively minor. But AI also has the potential to do tasks that clinicians are the only ones that are able to do right now, like autonomously diagnosing disease. So I think it was back in 2018 that the FDA approved the first AI autonomous system to diagnose diabetic retinopathy. So this is a system that can take a look at a fundus photo and essentially determine whether that patient needs to be referred to an eye doctor or if that patient doesn't have any signs of diabetic retinopathy. So if you just kind of extrapolate that into the future and you think of all of the different conditions that we rely on imaging to be able to diagnose, there's literally, I can't think of a single, eye disease that we don't need to look at to be able to diagnose. And if AI can look at pictures and OCT and come up with a diagnosis that is as accurate as a clinician, then that creates a situation where we need to make sure that it's applied and deployed in a responsible way. Because the clinician is, the thing we bring to the table isn't just our ability to recognize patterns or see what something looks like and say this is a disease or not. We have training on ethics, we have training on, handling the patient's emotional state and speaking with the patient in a way that is actually going to empower them to seek treatment. So we don't want to have the complete power of diagnosing and managing be handed off to a machine. The doctor needs to be in the loop in there somewhere. And so in these early stages, it's going to be kind of like a screening application where, the patient is screened and then it's like referred or not referred. But we need to be, in the mix and understand that there has to be, a human being who has the patient's best interest at heart that is in the loop. And so I think if we don't do that, AI can threaten not only a portion of our capability, but also our credibility. Because if patients get mismanaged or patients get treated like a number, there's not someone there that is an advocate for them, and they get worse outcomes because of that.
How would you say AI can help like transitioning into help a new grad like myself transition into role being an optometrist?
Yeah, that's a great question. So maybe I'll crowdsource some more pain points or difficulties that you guys either have personally experienced or have heard from new grads, and then we'd see if we can get AI to help solve some of those.
Well, I said mine. I was like diagnosis sometimes.
Finally.
I've been practicing for a year and a half, and I saw my very first herpes patient, like finally, like, and then I was like, oh wow, this is so nice. Like I knew right away what it was, and then I was like, okay, I'll be right back. 'Cause then I was like, what do I do? So I forgot. Like, you study this, and then you kind of forget the information when you're not applying it, right? Versus like something that I see all the time that I would see like when I was on rotations, like uveitis that forget all day, right? But this was my first one that I've ever seen. So I had to be like, hey, what do I give? Should I give us like, should I do like a drop? And so, these kinds of things, like transitioning from like a new grad, it's like you want to be confident. I think that sometimes we have that mindset where we don't have someone babying us a little bit anymore. I always want to like ask, like, is this the right choice that I'm making?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, imagine if you had a function built into your EMR that as soon as you typed in what your diagnosis was, or even if you're not sure what the diagnosis is, if you type in one or two differential diagnoses and it populated information and images for you to help you settle on the right diagnosis, and then from there gave you the treatment plans. And this is without you having to sneak out and look up your Will's eye manual. That's just going to make you more efficient and, provide a better outcome. And it'll be something that's updated continuously because, AI being connected to the internet is going to be able to, incorporate information from new research that comes out. And it's not like you have to wait a couple more years until there's a new edition of, your clinical guide that you go by. And, it's like it's 2023. Like we all have these little books that we run out and open the book and scroll to the right page. It's like, it's time for us to leverage the state of the art technology. And that's what AI is.
But in retrospect, what do you think is stopping a company from like making that and then just having that for patients readily available at home? If they're like, these are my symptoms, it puts it in, sends the diagnosis to the pharmacy, and that's it. And they just don't even come see us.
Dr. Google.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Google's already out there now, right? So patients already have access to some of these types of things. But I think, like we had kind of touched on before, that's where legislation also comes in as another important piece. And so, going into optometry, the optometrists that I was shadowing were always emphasize the aspect of optometry being a legislative profession. And so, that aspect has allowed us to actually grow our scope and be able to do things now that 10 or 20 years ago, people didn't even think optometry would be able to do. And so as we grow in our scope and using, our legislative advocacy to expand what we can do as optometrists, we need to also be making sure that it's going to protect our patients going forward, and that, these tools have a lot of potential to help. But then, if they're not used properly, just like anything, the tools that we use right now to help patients, if you're using them recklessly, they can hurt a patient. And so we need to, be looking out for patients and using our collective power to make sure that they're going to be protected.
Yeah, you're right. Dr. Google can be something that can come up for us every day, right? Like even right now, I just put in ChatGPT. What do I do? I have a red eye, and it goes through like 15 different options. But at the end of the day, it could be herpetic, it could be uveitis, it could be dry eye. And at the end, it gives a little blurb. Remember, using self-care measures are appropriate, but if you're unsure, definitely see an eye doctor, an eye care professional. And I think that should be at the head of everything, right? Like as a human, we can interpret this information and make a decision. And it's not as black and white as they say in textbooks either. Like I've seen people put steroids on ulcers. So that's where the doctor element, the human element is very important.
100%. And especially because, something like ChatGPT is not going to actually be able to look at your eye, right? And especially not at the level that we're able to see on the slit lamp. So pretty much what it does is going to give you just a shotgun approach of all the possible things that it's going to be. And to be quite honest, that's not really that helpful to a patient who is not an expert in eye care, right? So it's just going to give you a bunch of things to worry about. And it could be one of those things is the thing that's actually giving you your red eye, or it could be none of them and you don't know. So it's not really giving you more certainty. It's not really helping you. So as you mentioned, there should be that disclaimer of this is the type of information that's actually needed to tease out what your cause of red eye is. And these types of tests are tests that only an eye doctor can do. So the best use of your time is actually to go to an eye doctor. But for us to be able to get that kind of language incorporated in some of these types of systems, we need to actually be engaging with the companies that are creating this. We can't just expect them to be able to read our mind and understand, what our stance is on it. So I think collectively as a profession, we need to be making a concerted effort to reach out to companies that are developing AI tools and to have a seat at the table.
I know before we kind of started the pod, we were just kind of touching base. But you said something really interesting about how like AI is more readily like recognized in other professions such as ophthalmology and not so much in optometry. Can you like touch on that and like why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a great point. And this has kind of been a trend ever since I was an optometry student. It's actually one of the things that really motivated me to start writing articles about AI when I was a student. I was personally curious about AI, and then I would read all these studies, and I'm wondering, well, where is all this information getting published? Because I don't see it at the conferences that I go to. And it turns out that, the researchers and the AI developers, they all essentially go to the ophthalmology meetings and engage with ophthalmology as their main source of engaging with the eye care community. And I felt like optometry was getting left behind because we don't have the awareness, and we're not also engaging in crafting the research. We're not, publishing and having the conversations within the companies that helps them direct their resources in the right places. And we think about it, it's a huge disconnect because the vast majority of encounters for primary care happen in an optometry setting. Right. So if we see, the vast majority of patient interactions of those 100 million adults that get an eye exam, if the vast majority of them are coming to us first, at least, and we're not engaged in the technology that's going to be, front and center in the future of eye care, then what does that leave optometry?
And how do you think like we can change that? Do you think we just need to be asking more questions? Do you think that we as optometrists should be like, hey, I'd really like it if I had a generator that would just kind of look at the scleral lens on an anterior OCT and tell me what I need to change?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I think it's an all of the above answer. You as a clinician who is able to integrate technology into your office, ask the companies that are providing this technology, your EMR companies, the companies that are providing your diagnostic equipment, ask them how they're incorporating AI and how they're going to help you, take advantage of that technology and not allow you to get left behind. As a researcher, you can, or an educator, you can educate your students. As a researcher, you can look at, AI research in eye care. If you're involved in organized optometry at any level, you can be, helping us craft a stance that is beneficial to our patients and that does not erode optometry's role in having that doctor-patient relationship. So I think there are a lot of different levels that we can kind of have a concerted effort and organize on. It's just a matter of getting started and making a commitment to it.
Very cool. One more question, and then I think we're gonna move on. So JD, you want to ask the last one?
Yeah, I think we've kind of touched on some of the kind of what the preview of the last question is going to be, kind of applying, how can we go about applying AI on a daily or eye care basis? And we've kind of go over some things, but just kind of give like a wrap up for everybody. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've kind of mentioned several scenarios that we're noticing in the office setting, or if you're a student, or a new grad, there are different pain points that we all face. And I think over time, we've just kind of, come to grips with, well, this is just what it is. This is just going to be a hassle. I need to just grind through it. But, AI is really an opportunity to re-question all the things that are not working well. And it's for different people, it's different issues because different people are at different levels, right? Optometry educators have different problems than clinicians, than students. So I think everyone has a pain point that can be addressed, and I think we just need to have an open mind and keep an eye out for what new tools are being developed, because these tools are being developed for things that are maybe outside of optometry but can be used in optometry. Like you're talking about ChatGPT, right? I know people who are using ChatGPT to write referral letters and do things that are not necessarily brought to their doorstep of, hey, use this as an optometrist, but they're open-minded people that are looking for new ways to enhance what they do. And so that's what it takes.
Yeah, So utilizing the chat GPT, I think you also said in the utilizing companies that are working on these different products or artificial intelligence, things like that. And it sounds like I like how you do that. You're saying, hey, look at what our pain points are and try to see how technology or artificial intelligence can solve that. And so hopefully that sparks some thoughts for other people out there where they have some pain points and they can start, working on these projects or seeing how AI can help. Those are some great thoughts, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's at the end of the day, it's kind of a supply and demand situation. So if in optometry we're not creating the demand, then companies are not going to go out of their way and invest millions of dollars in developing these tools for us.
Right.
So, part of it is on us too to be interested in moving forward from the things that we have done into the things that are going to allow us to get to the next level. And when companies see that we have an appetite for that, they're much more incentivized to invest in bringing those tools for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, talking about ChatGPT, we've asked ChatGPT to make a list of would you rather questions for optometry.
It's okay.
So we're going to ask you 3. We're not going to do too many. Would you rather have the ability to instantly correct any vision problems in others, but never be able to wear glasses or contacts yourself, or always have perfect vision, but never be able to help anyone else with their vision?
Wait. This is having perfect vision and the rest of the world is blind? Is that what this is?
That's
Would you
crazy.
rather have
Would I rather be blind and everyone else sees well, or everyone sees well and I'm blind?
Yeah, basically.
Is that what it is?
Like, would you rather just never see and help everyone else see, or would you just rather see but never help anyone else?
How can you help?
Damn.
The difficult part is that if I don't see well, it's gonna make it tough to help other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick one.
So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a convoluted question there.
It is.
You know what? I would help other people see, because then if they can see and then they're able to do research to find out what the root cause of my vision issue is, then they can help me back.
Wow, how noble.
Oh,
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have a patient who can't stop blinking during an exam, or one who can't stop staring intensely into your soul in your eyes, like sometimes JD will tell us to do?
You know what? I think I'm good with the staring patient, because that means they have a good T-butt for sure. I don't have to worry about managing their dry eye. And then, they're not blinking all the time during the slow lab exam.
The combo.
Some
the
people like
JD
eye
combo.
contact. There's nothing wrong with that. I agree with you.
No problem.
Touch their shoulder, just do the combo.
I won't go that
according
far,
to JD.
Mirror their actions.
Would you rather have to explain every eye condition in rhyme, or have to perform eye exams while singing a catchy tune?
I might have to go with the catchy tune.
Okay, let's hear it.
I can't rhyme like that.
What catchy tune would you sing? Fine.
Well, I'm not doing an eye exam otherwise. I would.
Touche. We already know she's gonna do some Taylor Swift if she had to do it.
Yeah, I'll be like, and it's good the shit, and then they'll instantly all my patients will come back, obviously. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, think of changing the patient experience up, right? You could tell a patient hey, I am going to explain to you what your dry eye is like, but I know you're a Taylor Swift fan, so I'm going to tell the AI to look at my EMR, and it's going to sing the stuff that I was going to educate you on. That's not an experience that, you get in eye care right now, and you don't have to be a talented, songwriter or creative person to do that. You just have an AI to do that for you.
Let's put "Explain Myopia" by Taylor Swift into ChatGPT.
Yeah, the sound
yeah, and there's
AI
Drake
that
AI. I think is able to do songs in the voices of different people, so you can.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Weekend AI is nominated for. It's nominated for a Grammy.
Was it the Drake and Weekend song that was not real? Something that got millions of views.
No way.
Wow. I just got a whole song according to wow, this is beautiful. Taylor Swift too.
Oh.
The chorus is myopia, you pull me close so near, but the world outside I couldn't quite see clear.
Why is it actually?
There you go.
These are bars. What?
And melodies weave as I squinted through the haze you conceived. They're so good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are really good. I'm gonna put these on our page later. You guys read the song. All right.
Well,
Well,
thank you. Thank you, Fayaz, for coming on.
Oops.
Before we hang up, is there any advice? Because I know we talked about AI, and that's just like one thing that you are passionate about, you're involved in, but there's so many other accomplishments you have. So, what's the piece of advice you would give to the listeners? Maybe to the optometry students, to the young ODs. You have a lot of experience. And it could be advice about anything, but what's on your heart right now and what do you want to share?
I'm not an expert in anything, so I won't, call this advice. But, something that really struck me when I was a student is looking at my career and just thinking about how long that's going to be, right? So optometrists usually practice for 30 to 40 years. By the time you graduate from optometry school, most of us are not, 30 or 40, right? And so this is going to be practicing for longer than you've been alive. And just trying to imagine all of the different changes that are likely to happen, during that process. So I think for a lot of us, we're realizing that the optometry that we go into is not going to be the same optometry that we retire from. There are going to be a lot of different changes, a lot of things that are happening. And it would be really, the best thing for us to kind of surf the opportunity waves that are going to come up, during that time and not get left behind. And so in order for us to do that, it takes having an open mind and being curious and looking at, what's out there that can actually transform our ability to serve patients. Because at the end of the day, that's our purpose, is to really empower people and to help make their lives better through improving their vision. So we need to be out there, not thinking that we can do the same things that we were taught in school, over and over and over until we retire and then sail off into the sunset. A lot of things that we are taught in school will be irrelevant at some point in our career. So we need to be, thinking outside the box and really going after it in a way that, as if our career depends on it, because it really does.
Faiz, where can people find you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, I'm available on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn. Feel free to email me.
Where can they find you on social?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Fayiz_M. LinkedIn is Fayiz Mahgoub. Thanks for having me, guys. And I've known you all since you're optometry students, and
appreciate y'all.
very proud of the work you guys are doing. So keep it up.